So if you're anything like me, you probably clicked on this video because you want to learn how to make every minute count with a full-time job and regain control of your time. And whether you want to pursue a personal project or you're just interested in learning about how to use your time well, then this video is for you. So look, finding time for everything has become harder and harder over the last few years. And I get it. With the thousands of new distractions that comes up and with all the activities that require your attention every day, it can all seem so overwhelming, and the easiest thing to do is just give up and surrender to frustrations. And that is why I put together this video, to break down an easy step-by-step guide to turn every minute into value time that you can apply to yourself and get a head start on becoming the person you want to be. I put together a 5-level program, each level with techniques and exercises, and at the end, you will be able to make every minute count. And I get it. Why should you listen to me instead of another random expert? Over the last few years, I've worked on making my dream a reality, and the results went beyond my wildest expectation. While working my full-time job, I made 2 documentary films, and one of them is now live on the biggest streaming platform in the world, Netflix. Now my goal is to take what I've learned reaching my goal and give it away completely for free. I see a ton of frustrated people who give up even just the idea of chasing their dreams. But I am on a mission to inspire you to turn your dream into reality by giving you every single resources you need completely for free. So congratulations on taking your first step into a new future. But most importantly, sit back, take pen and paper and prepare to take notes, because at the end of this video, it will be time for you to take massive action. But before that, would mean a lot if you hit the subscribe button so that we can impact more people wanting to achieve their goals. With that said, let's dive in. One of the most frustrating feelings, in my opinion, is not knowing how you spend your time. I remember spending my days chasing the clock, jumping from one task to another without respite and without being able to realize what I was doing. At the end of the day, all I could wonder was where the day had gone. It was already time to prepare dinner or go to bed, and I felt like I hadn't accomplished anything. Only after putting what I'm about to tell you into practice, I slowly began to regain control of my time. I could understand how I spent my days, where the free moments were, how I could use them to advance my project, and suddenly I managed to carve out 10 minutes a day, then 20, then half an hour. And today, beyond my full-time job, I work at least a couple of hours a day. Understanding how you spend your time during a standard week, it's not that difficult. It can be boring, it's true, but the benefits that follow are truly extraordinary. You see, in our everyday lives, there are 2 types of activities, the mandatory and the optional ones. The first step is to take pen and paper and make a list of all the obligatory activities. Eating, sleeping, gym, working, paying bills, taking the dog out. Think and reflect on your life and the thing you are obliged to do. In a week, there are 168 available hours, and clearly they are not all free. To understand how much time we really have, we need to do some math. Let's assume you sleep 7 hours a day. Subtract 49 hours from 168 for sleep and continue like this for each highlighted activity previously mentioned. At the end of the calculation, there will be a number. This is your magic number. Those are the available hours you have during the course of a week. It might seem like nothing, but something extraordinary just happened. You have found your time. It's there, right before your eyes. Whether it's only 1 hour or 10, you have magically understood how much time you have to dedicate to yourself. But there is one crucial thing to understand now that will propel you to the next level. And it's something that will begin to transform those potentially available hours into time well spent. For the first few years of my career, I had the feeling of being lost. I looked at my colleagues and friends, and they were all super organized. Their lives seemed to run on 2 well-aligned tracks, while I was searching for a place to go. Over time, I encountered opportunities and threw myself into them headfirst without thinking, only to realize after a few months that they wouldn't lead me anywhere. I tried to follow the path others had taken, but I didn't achieve the same result. Only later, I managed to stop for a moment and think, and outline a path of my own, a personal one that would allow me to move closer to the vision I had for my life. From that moment, figuring out whether that opportunity that seemed so interesting was really worthwhile or not became simple. All I had to do was ask myself if taking that path would bring me closer or farther away from my ideal vision. It's that simple, and you can do it too. If the answer is yes, then pursue it. If the answer is no or maybe, you could not afford to waste those few hours you have on something that is not that useful. To do this, you must understand where you want to go, and there's a small exercise that I love that will help you tremendously. All you need to do is write down how you want your life to be in 10 years. Write down the place where you live, with whom, what job do you have, how your day goes, and in detail what you do from when you wake up to when you go to bed. It's simple, but it helps us clarify the ultimate goal. If you only have 5 hours a week to progress on your journey, you must know in which direction you're heading, because only this way you can track your progress. You have a goal. You can't get distracted. You finally can focus on the most important things. And there are 3 ways that I have applied into my week that allow me to gain an extra 30% of time per week. There are some really boring things in life. I personally hate groceries shopping. I can't stand it. Spending an hour pushing the cart down the supermarket, bumping into cranky old ladies is something I truly hate. Maybe for you it's something else, like paying the bills. But I bet there is something you hate doing on the list of the mandatory activities. At a certain point, I realized that for some activities my presence wasn't necessarily required. With a bit of preparation and effort, I could manage to get out of certain things and get 2 benefits in one. On one hand, I felt better because I no longer had to do things that put me in a bad mood. And on the other hand, I managed to free up 3 or 4 hours a week that I would have otherwise used. There are 3 ways to do it, and I want to tell you about them from the least effective to the most freaking powerful. I personally use the last one to avoid grocery shopping, and it's truly wonderful. The first question to ask yourself is whether something is truly essential. Not everything you have written is truly fundamental, and it may be possible to eliminate or reduce something. Suppose your colleagues invite you to a post-work drinks once a week. You could ask yourself if it's something you value so much, or if you can live without it without anyone taking offense, or maybe go once a month instead of every week. Eliminating something is always possible, but if you really can't, the second method might be more useful for you. Because of the many things that steal your precious time, there is probably something that doesn't require your presence. And what I mean is that you have to physically go to the gym, to sleep, to wash or eat. But it's not the case for everything. There are occasions when something needs to be done, but it doesn't have to be you doing it. Like cleaning, for example. It's a must to clean the house once a week, but you don't necessarily have to do it yourself. Or taking the dog out twice a day, every day. Perhaps you have someone living with you and you could occasionally organize and delegate the task to them. Of course, you can delegate showering to someone else. Finally, let's go back to grocery shopping, my hated task. I cannot avoid it. I could delegate it to someone else, it's true, but I can also do better. I found a system where the shopping goes on by itself without me having to dedicate time to it. It's always possible to automate activities, whether it's grocery shopping or paying the bills, and the best part is that you will have much more time to dedicate to yourself. There are various ways to put something on autopilot, depending on the activities. It may require a paid service, as in the case of grocery shopping, or setting up automatic payment for bills. Before I go on, I want to congratulate you. By following the previous steps, you have begun to build a roadmap to make every minute count. But putting the next steps into practice will place you ahead of 99% of people. Those around you will start to wonder how you managed to accomplish so more in such a little time. The truth is, at this moment, you have a problem. And I remember well how I felt when I reached this point. There is nothing worse than knowing you have a lot of free time and no idea where it is. You never had so much free time before, but if you don't know where it is within the week, everything you have done so far is useless. Transitioning from not having enough time to having an abundance can be disorienting. After a few failures, I managed to build a way of working that not only allowed me to have more free time than I had before, but also to make the most of every single minute. This technique I learned helped me gain clarity, and it's something you can put into practice in just a couple of minutes. It all starts with your calendar. All you have to do is place all the activity you listed at the beginning within the week, from the gym to lunch. Mark everything you do during the course of a day. I know it can be frustrating, but only this way you can truly understand where your time is spent. And remember, the more precise and specific you are, the easier it will be later. To make the slots more visible, I created various calendars. I have one for family events where I have inserted activity like meals, dog walks and family time, a personal calendar with the gym, work and other solo activities, and finally a calendar dedicated to my personal project. Once you've filled in the first two calendars, you can clearly see where your time is and proceed to create personal events in the empty space left by the other two calendars. For example, look here. On this day, I have a free slot between 9:30 and 12:30, and I can dedicate 3 hours to work. The next day, however, I only have 1 hour in the morning, but after dinner I have another 2-hour slots. That's already 6 hours in 2 days, and without giving up anything. I just had to identify where my weekly activities were and consequently find the free spaces. But when you have visualized your time, you need to work on how you are using it. Because there is nothing worse than sitting at a computer staring at a blank screen for hours. And it would be a real shame not to be able to make the most of all this time you have managed to find. I have tried hundreds of techniques to organize my work, but I believe that 99% of people can fix their problems by applying one single skill. And it's called intentionality. It used to happen to me all the time. I was in the middle of my work time and instead of writing, I wasted minutes on 1,000 of other useless things. From endlessly scrolling Instagram to listening to the beautiful sound of rain to admiring the cuteness of my sleeping dog. Well, it's very cute, but it certainly doesn't move me toward my vision. When I understood the importance of intentionality, everything changed. I started building around me a safe environment where it was less easy to get distracted, and work became easier and faster. By distracting myself less, I was able to complete more work in less time. The final step to get the most of every minute is to dedicate all the possible attention to each minute. See it as a gift to yourself. You have made a huge effort to carve out those 60 minutes a day to dedicate to your dream. Now you cannot afford to waste even one of them. They are too important. To create the perfect environment, distance yourself from your phone, turn it off, establish a workspace and keep it clean and tidy. Create a work routine for yourself. If you, for example, love candles, keep one next to your computer and light it when you work. For your brain, that would be a signal. It's time to work, no more distraction. But to make the most of the time you have, you need to become a master of deep work. And there's something I started doing recently that has had a huge impact on my ability to focus. So check this video right here where I show you what it is and how you can instantly double your productivity.